I'm Nicola Bailey, and I'm a cheesemonger at Eataly, and this is every tool that I use to prepare our cheese every day. So our first knife that I want to show you is our machete knife. Now the machete knife is perfect for opening most wheels of cheese behind the counter. The blade is going to be long and thick from the base all the way to the tip, so that we can split those larger, harder wheels of cheese, because I can cut as quick as I can and get a whole quarter wheel cut down in less than 5 minutes. The offset knife is used for softer and semi-soft cheeses. You want it to be super, super thin at the main cutting spot, so you're gonna have less surface area for the cheese to stick to that blade. You don't want it to like snap in your hand, so you need it to be thicker at the base. This style of knife allows you to have a little bit more wrist control, and so you're not gonna wear out your wrist as you're chopping these small cheeses over and over again. This is our vertical meat slicer. We slice a lot of prosciutto. We're talking we break down full legs every single day. We use our vertical slicer exclusively because it locks the leg in with our blade arm here. I'm not putting any more pressure on one side of the leg versus the other. It makes a nice, clean, even slice. So this is our gravity slicer. So whenever I'm slicing meat, all the time I'm putting my prosciutto on the vertical slicer. But anything else, I'm gonna slice it over here and use the power of gravity to help me during the slicing process. So if the slice isn't as thick as I want it, rather than pressing down hard, I'll just open up the blade to get a better slice. This is our scimitar knife, or butcher's knife. We use this knife to open up our prosciutto legs or to open up any copas or salami that might have a skin to it. This blade is gonna be probably the sharpest knife that we have, but I also need a really long blade so I can trim off most of the leather with one fell swoop. We also use the scimitar knife over in the mozzarella lab to split our mozzarella curd so that it's ready to go through the chitarra. So we're back of house at our cheese counter. So this is the main area where all of our production tools live. So this is our double handle wire. This is what we use to break open those big, more soft wheels of cheese. So this wire has a grip on both sides. I'm gonna hold this piece of the wire here, and from there, I'm gonna take the wire up, over, and it's gonna go straight down into the cheese, and I'll pull it free, and it's gonna make a nice, even cut. Harp wire. This wire is what you wanna use when you're splitting a fresh wheel of blue cheese. The harp wire fits directly over the wheel. It's gonna give me a nice, even cut. So a wire is gonna create less resistance from the blade because it can go just straight into the cheese. But if I'm using like an offset knife, it's going to smear those blue veins on the cheese. This is our box wire. I've used the box wire to open up blue cheeses. I've used to open up like a big pecorino gigante. Anything that's gonna fit mostly on this base, I'm typically gonna use the box wire. I don't have to worry about the back end of the wire maybe like flicking around anywhere because the wire is stuck with these springs on the bottom. So all I have to do is pull straight down and my cheese is split beautifully, saving me a lot of time and also a lot of energy because it's really easy to just pull a wire rather than cutting that wheel of cheese, especially when it's gonna be like a really cold wheel of cheese I just pulled from the walk-in. Scoring knife, also known as the key knife. So not all cheeses have like super hard rinds to them, but a big wheel like a Parmigiano Reggiano, it's got a thick fire-branded rind to it. The scoring knife has only one tiny little blade right at the tip here. The rest of this thing is super, super dull, so that when I'm dragging the knife along the top of the cheese or the side of the cheese, I'm not digging in too far and I'm just giving a nice even cut, giving it an easy way to split a Parmigiano Reggiano wheel. This is our stiletto knife. The important thing about this knife is that it's sharp and pointy. After I've scored my wheel of cheese, I'm gonna grip it with both hands, I'm gonna press it down, I'm gonna wedge it back and forth, go to the next part, do my little wedge motion again, and again, and again, flip the wheel of cheese, do it again, and so I can split open that wheel of cheese. This is our wedge tool. With my stiletto, I'm piercing the wheel of cheese, where the wedge is just helping me split the wheel of cheese. You put this on one side, you have this one on the other, you do a motion like this, and it cracks the wheel for you. I would say my record of breaking down a wheel of cheese is probably like a minute and a half, and we're talking like an 80-pound wheel of cheese. We're here in the mozzarella lab where we cook mozzarella every single day for our customers and for our restaurants. So this is our chitarra, which translates to guitar, and you can see that it's essentially almost like a stringed instrument. And we've even used guitar stringers to help restring it after these wires start to break down. It would take forever to just split this curd with a knife and cut it into the small pieces that we need for our production. So once we split our curd into small little bricks, we'll push this curd through the chitarra into our mozzarella pot. So this is our mozzarella cooking pot. This is the pot that we use to cook our mozzarella in every single day. We want the pot to be stainless steel because not just are we using hot boiling water every day, but it's also salted water. And we don't want our pot to become all corroded and rusty. This was designed specifically for our flat iron store so that it can fit into all of our different crevices. Not only does it have the handle here, but it's really easy with the lip to use so that when I'm pouring out that hot salty water, I'm not getting burned, but I also have really nice control over how to use the pot. This is the paddle that we used to stretch our mozzarella curd. We need it to be long and skinny so that it can go all the way down so that we can stir all of the broken curd in with that hot salted water. We can use it to then stretch the curd and focus on getting that right texture for a beautifully smooth and elasticy mozzarella ball. This is made out of the same material that some of our cutting boards are made out of, polyurethane, which is gonna hold up to the wear and tear of making mozzarella. We're now here in Scuola, and this is where all of the education programs happen at Eataly, whether that's pasta making classes, pizza making classes, or my personal favorite, how to make a cheese board. The slate is really dark. The cheese is always gonna pop on this board because of that sharp, sharp contrast. When you're using something that's a little more muted in color, the cheese might get lost on the board. When you're talking about wood, even though you're gonna clean it and scrub it as best you can, this one just wipes right off and it's an even, clean surface, so you don't have to worry about little bits getting into the crevices of the wood. So this is our cheese knife called the fork. This tool is gonna be used for breaking apart a really hard, drier cheese. The prongs on this knife allow you to dig into the cheese, and all you have to do is twist it and then rinse it free into these nice little bite-sized rustic chunks. And then you can use to pick up the cheese itself. Cheese spreader. The spreader is gonna be used for spreading those really soft cheeses, like maybe a fresh goat chèvre, or you can even use this to spread a piece of like a brie-style cheese, like maybe a Moses sleeper. And so there's a slight blade here, but it's not super sharp because the cheese that you're using for this is already super soft. And I'm just gonna use this to spread over whatever I'm gonna eat the cheese on. So this tool is our prong knife because at the very tip is gonna have a pronged finish to help break apart the cheese. The holes help to make sure that you can cut through a soft cheese and not keep all the paste on the blade itself. This guy is probably the most useful cheese knife you can have at home. Chisel knife. I'm able to use this to break into those larger wheels of cheese. The blade is gonna be at the tip of the knife because you're dealing with like firmer cheeses, and so you need to put a little bit more leverage when you're breaking apart like a harder cheese like Parmigiano Reggiano. So this is our heart knife. So after I've chiseled off a nice piece of cheese, I'll use the heart knife to break it into those last pieces. This one's pretty much just used for those harder cheeses that you might have at home. So like a cheddar or maybe an Alpine. So this is our Raclette Grill. So when I got into the cheese world, this is probably one of the very first cheese tools that I got. You know, we have your cheese knives, but if I really wanted something to steal the show and I'm having folks over, I really want a cool tool to do that. So the Raclette Grill is something that's really gonna be your center stage showpiece for the night. All you really need are a couple tea lights to get this metal going. And then before long, you'll have the cheese start to bubble and get all ooey and gooey. And that's when you know that it's ready to take the grill off and then scrape the raclette onto whatever you're serving with. Potatoes, cornichons. This is like my pride and joy. This is my baby. Having the right tools is important as the cheese itself. I could have the best wheel of Parm in the world, but without the right tools, no one is getting a bite.